Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Toastmasters District 61 weekly webinars. Tonight's webinar is on the Concur Expense Processing System, brought to you by our currently serving Finance Manager, Valérie Drainville. Valérie, take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our presentation this evening is on the Concur Expense Processing System. This is a tool that is used by any district officer when submitting an expense claim to the district. It's an automated system that's been in place for 2 years now, and as time progresses, people are getting more and more used to it. But there are still a lot of questions that are asked, and so I'm hoping that tonight's session will help clear some of those questions up. First and foremost, why do we use Concur? For one, because your expense reports can be submitted at any time and anywhere. It used to be that you had to meet in person with the finance manager, whether it be at a DEC meeting or at a conference, or submit it by email with all of the appropriate documents attached and signed in order to be able to submit an expense claim. Now, everything is electronic. Second, officers of the trio no longer need to meet in order to duly sign checks, because every check that comes from the district must have 2 signatures. Approvals, which are done online, can be done anywhere and at any time. Members of the district executive team no longer need to keep physical receipts since they all have their electronic copies. They've all been electronically uploaded. Payments are done electronically, which means they're paid out more frequently and they're directly deposited into your account. The finance manager no longer has to complete data entry for every single one of those claims because they're automatically entered into the accounting system. It's a lot of work that's been taken off of the shoulders of the finance manager. And finally, it allows you to trace your expense reimbursement status at any stage of the process. You know exactly where you are, and you have a pretty good idea of when you're going to get your money. When you start your term as a district executive officer, you're going to be provided with the link to Concur, which is a website. Logging in is as easy as your member number. As you can see in this image here, the member number must be a total of 8 digits long. If a member's number is only 6 digits, you pad it with zeros at the front, followed by @toastmasters.org. The password for any first-time user is welcome, small letters throughout, WELCOME. This will also be provided in the email with the link, as well as the instructions on how to change your password. To get access to Concur, the list of district officers must be submitted to Toastmasters International. You may be asked by the finance manager or the incoming district director for some information in order to help populate the list. Once you've provided the information, you will be granted access within a week or so. Once you log into Concur, this is the home page that you will see. At the very top, you'll see the blue Concur logo, which is how you would get back to the home screen. And the main one that we will be using is the expense button. To the right, there's also the profile button, which is where you would go to make any adjustments to your profile or to sign out from your session. Just below this is your quick access toolbar. Mine is slightly different because I'm the finance manager and I have an additional role in Concur as an approver. What you will see are the buttons to start a report, to upload receipts. You'll see your count of available expenses and any open reports that you have. Just below this, you'll have the My Trips section on the left this is not available for districts at this time. So just disregard this feature. To the right of this are any alerts that Toastmasters International would like to inform you about. This screenshot is a little bit older, and so the alerts you will see may be a little bit different. Have a look, and if you think they apply to you, follow the instructions. If you believe they do not, simply discard them. Below this are the company notes. This is where Toastmasters International World Headquarters can provide you with helpful tips, policies to keep in mind, and any relevant information that World Headquarters would like you to know about. The final section of the homepage is the My Tasks section. If you're an approver, such as myself or a member of the trio, the left side of My Tasks will show a list of expenses that you're required to approval. For all other users, the My Tasks will show any available expenses and any open reports that require your attention. The open reports are reports that you've begun working on but have not yet submitted for approval. This next screen is where you would make your profile changes. So again, you access this by clicking the profile button in the top right corner. And in the menu on the left, there are two specific sections that you want to look at. The first is your expense preferences. This is where you adjust the notifications that you will receive throughout the approval process. So you would access this menu and adjust what types of notification you want to receive. The other one just above it is the bank information. And this is a very important step to take when you're first setting up your profile, because you will not be able to submit an expense report until your direct deposit information is entered and has been validated. When you click on bank information, this is the screen that you will receive. Enter the bank routing number, the bank account number, in the appropriate fields, as well as any mandatory fields which are indicated by a red bar to the left of the field, specifically the account type and whether it is active. Review the information and click Save. From this point, TI, Toastmasters International, will validate the information by doing a 1 penny deposit into your account, and then it will withdraw it again. This is a secure setup, and that World Headquarters and Concur are not able to access this information. Only you will be able to edit or enter your banking information. Once your account has been validated, you will then be able to enter your expense claims. This concludes this portion of the presentation. At this point, I'd like to move over to Concur in order to walk you through submitting an expense claim. As stated in the PowerPoint, you would pad your member number by zeros in order to bring it up to 8 digits at toastmasters.org. And the password when you first log in is welcome, WELCOME. If you encounter any issues and the system does not want you to log in, please contact the finance manager at finance@tmd61.com and request access to the system. Once your access has been granted, enter your login information and click Sign In. You may occasionally get pop-ups such as this. Simply close them. They don't affect the system. As mentioned, company notes from Toastmasters and any tasks that require your attention are below. You can either click on Expense or you can click on New to start a new claim. The first screen you get is the title screen. This is where you would enter the information for the claim that you want to submit. So if I was to submit a claim for traveling to a deck meeting, I could enter deck number 1, travel and printing. You want your report name to be sufficiently descriptive so that whoever is approving the claim knows what they're looking at, and you want it to be sufficiently specific. So I wouldn't put an expense claim called deck travel and do claims for my speech contest. You want to make sure that whatever your report name is specific to the content. The report date automatically defaults to today. You can change it, but since I'm creating this report today, that's the date that I want to keep there. If I want to add a comment, I can do so now, or you can do so a little bit later. Once the information is entered, simply click Next. When we get to this screen, you will notice that it is divided in two. On the left will be the summary of the expenses that you are claiming. On the right are the expense categories. The first thing that I want to add, since I stated that it was for travel and printing, is I will do the travel portion. Therefore, if I am traveling, I can either select mileage, which in my case is a recently used one, or I can select from the list below. The list below is sorted alphabetically and by categories, the categories being either travel or other. I'd recommend going through the entire list the first time to make sure that you're selecting the category that is the most appropriate to your expense type. These expense type should match up what's in the district budget. A cheat sheet is currently being created in order to assist any incoming district officer when they are submitting their expense claims. We'll do two different expense types. The first one for travel, and so I will select mileage. And this is where you would enter all of the details. So these are going to be hypothetical numbers just to get us through the process. Deck meeting number 1. Transaction date is when the transaction or the travel in this case occurred. The first deck meeting generally occurs early in July, and since I can't submit a claim in the future, I'm going to assume this was for this past year. Business purpose is why did you incur this expense? It can be a club visit. It can be travel for a deck meeting. It can be speech contest. Whatever the general purpose for the expense is. The city of purchase is where you started from. So I'm going to enter Ottawa. You can see that there is a list of cities that is automatically populated. From location, you would put your home address. To location, you would put the location of the meeting. The number of miles. Now, this does say miles, but in our case, it is kilometers. And this is for the total round trip. It is the total number of kilometers. A travel claim can only be made if the total number of kilometers for the round trip exceeds 100 kilometers. So going to the location and coming back is a total of 100 kilometers or more. The purpose must also have been approved by the TRIO and incorporated in the budget or pre-approval received. Deck meetings are considered to be pre-approved as per the expense guidelines. Club visits, you get 2 per club per year for area directors. Anything else, you'd have to discuss. If you aren't sure whether travel has been pre-approved, don't hesitate to ask either the finance manager or a member of the trio. Let's say that hypothetically, I traveled a total of 250 kilometers. The reporting code is the high-level category that this expense aligns to. The minute you are claiming mileage or travel, it automatically goes in the travel category. It doesn't matter if it was for a deck meeting or a speech contest or regardless. And there is a travel category for each role in the district team. I, for example, would select Travel District Finance Manager. The event period only applies when it is for an event, a TLI, a speech contest. Everything else is not applicable, and you have to fill in this field. A reminder that anything with a red bar to the left of it is a mandatory field. I said I would come back to the amount, and let's do that now. The calculation for the amount is explained in the district expense guidelines. It is either 30 cents per kilometer if there are 1 or 2 people in the vehicle, or if there are 3 or more people in the vehicle, it is 40 cents per kilometer. I do say people in the vehicle, but these are people that are going for the same purpose as you. For example, if I was to travel to a deck meeting in Montreal and my husband and my sister decided that they're going with me because they're going to see a relative, that doesn't count. I am the only person going to this deck meeting. On the other hand, if I were to be traveling with Tanya Hall and Craig Sr., these 2 people are also coming with me to the deck meeting. They have a business purpose at this meeting. Therefore, we are 3 people traveling to this meeting. So if I were to open a calculator, I would go my 250 kilometers times the rate that is being used. Let's use the example where I'm traveling with Tanya and Craig. So I would multiply by 0.4. My amount would be $100. I would be putting in a claim for $100. The subsidiary is the subcategory where this claim is posted against. If you aren't sure which one to use, simply use district. As an area director, you could state area, division director could state division, but for the most part, it's all district related. The last piece of information that's very important on this screen for most claims is the comment. Especially for travel, you need to state who you are traveling with and how you calculated your amount. So I would state, traveled with Craig and Tanya, last names as well, not just first names. $250 kilometers times 0.4 equals $100. Because this is a deck meeting and is one of those travel expenses which is already included and pre-approved as per the district expense guidelines, this is something else that's important to state. Because the audit committee will always be looking for some sort of approval with every claim that's going in. You would therefore enter something to the effect of pre-approved as per district expense guidelines. Once you're done filling in this screen, or if for whatever reason you need to stop partway, click Save, The information gets saved and it appears on the side. You'll notice the little blue bubble, which indicates that there is a comment associated to this expense. One thing that is requested, and if I click on it, it comes back up, is any travel claim must have a map attached as a supporting document. You would therefore click the Attach Receipt in the bottom corner and either click an available receipt which has already been uploaded into the Concur system, or you would browse for a new file. I'm going to use this one here that's already there and attach it to my claim. If I were to click on Receipt Image, I therefore see the map that I've just attached. You can see your map by clicking Receipt Image, and it shows you the image of the screenshot that you attached. So that's how you would that's how you would enter a mileage claim. If I then wanted to add my printing, I would simply look through the different expense types and find the one that fits the most. Now remember that these are in alphabetical order, and there is one here called printing. Because I've already entered some information in my mileage category, it will automatically duplicate the information that matches. So it is a printing claim on the transaction date, which is the same one. But let's say that my printing was done 2 days before. I would edit the date to match the receipt that is being attached. The business purpose will generally be the same. You can add a bit more detail if you want. Payment type should always be cash or out of pocket. If a member of the executive team, a member of the trio, has a district credit card, they have the option of having credit card selected in this menu. But everybody else, the only option is cash out of pocket. Once again, you enter the amount that you are claiming. One thing that's important to note is the amount being claimed is not necessarily the amount on the receipt. It will be less or equal. And the reason for this is certain amounts will have been pre-approved and the expense incurred will be greater. For example, an area contest venue is at present pre-approved at $50. If the expense was actually $60, the area director could either submit a pre-approval request to be approved for the full amount, or simply putting the claim in for $50, the amount of the maximum. I'm going to put in the amount of $15. I'll be honest, I'm just using a random receipt image and I don't remember what was the amount. The reporting code, however, no longer applies because this is not a travel claim. This is printing, and it is printing for a deck meeting. When I open this category, there is no category for deck. A deck meeting falls under training, division, and area governors. Yes, I know we're area and division directors now, but it seems TI has missed this term here. I would therefore select training, division, and area directors, governors. Because this is an event, this is not an event. As mentioned earlier, events are conferences, TLIs, or speech contests. The event period is also set to NA, and the subsidiary would also still be district. In my comment, you would explain what this expense was for. Therefore, I might state printing agendas for the deck meeting. I'm going to save. I'll bring your attention here to the left-hand side where there is a little yellow circle, indicate that a receipt is required. If I go back, I am required to attach a receipt. This time, I'm going to browse my computer, and I have my file, which is on my desktop. And once it is there, click Attach. So now, if I go into my receipt image, I will see that the receipt is there and the amounts listed. Like I mentioned, I know they won't match this particular time. And we can see that the little yellow circle has now turned to blue, confirming that a receipt has indeed been posted. It's important for the finance manager to be able to see not only the itemized receipt, but also the proof of payment. It's nice that the receipt is there, but it's important that it be showed that it was paid. If you have an invoice that states that the total amount is $120 and that $120 is due, I have no proof that this receipt was paid. You would therefore be asked to provide a proof of payment. This can be a credit card statement or one of those small debit machine receipts. At this point, all of the necessary information for our expense claims has now been entered. Save for good measure, and I would submit the claim. You will get this message asking you for a final review that certifies that this information is true and accurate, that all of the requested information has been attached, and you have not received reimbursement from any other sources, and that in the event of overpayment or payment received from another source, you will assume the responsibility of repaying the company in full. You would therefore click Accept and Submit. In my case, because this is a fictitious expense claim, I'm going to click Cancel. If I go back to my home page, I will now see that I have one open claim. I see it both in my quick access bar and I see it at the bottom. If I were to go to my open claims, I will see this claim here. A blue bar at the top indicates that an expense claim has not yet been submitted. A green bar indicates that it has been submitted, and a red bar indicates that it has been returned. If any information is missing from your expense claim, the finance manager or district director will return the claim and provide a comment as to why it is being returned. You can review such comments by clicking Details and Comments. This is where you would see any comments for the whole claim. As a reminder, when you are submitting a claim, there's a few important details that are needed in order for the claim to be approved. You need, in the case of an expense, your receipt and proof of payment, which is taking very long. In the case of mileage, your receipt is your map. In the case of an expense, you need to provide a receipt and a proof of payment. In the case of travel, you need to provide your map. You also need to provide who your passengers were, if any, and how you calculated your amount using the appropriate rate based on the number of passengers. If this claim was pre-approved because it was something listed in the expense guidelines, you would indicate that this was pre-approved as per the district expense guidelines. If this is something that was submitted for approval at the beginning of the year and incorporated into the budget, or if this is something that you requested pre-approval via email, you would also need to attach that email confirmation. Every expense claim must have a pre-approval in some form or another. And remember, at any point in time, if you aren't sure about how to submit your claim, do not hesitate to ask. That's why the finance manager is there. Simply send them an email at finance@tmd61.com. This concludes the presentation for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. If you have any questions,
Well, thank you very much, Valerie. It was quite informative. It was quite interesting. A couple key points there was ensuring that the invoice is marked paid.
absolutely. It's a very critical one.
And the event period, the date is used only for the event period, otherwise put in NA. That's a pretty important point.
I should also mention, because I didn't enter an example that required one, all you're entering is the year and month format. Doesn't have a specific date.
Oh, okay. Very good. Year and month. Perfect. And it was an interesting point about people who were traveling with people who are going to submit a claim. I'm not sure if Toastmasters came up with the term. The term we were using at the time was authorized travelers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So even if someone was a Toastmaster going to, say, a deck meeting, if they were not an authorized traveler to it, they might be, I don't know, just hanging out or something, but they might not qualify as an authorized traveler.
Exactly. And if you aren't sure, simply ask the district director whether this person qualifies as an authorized traveler.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Valerie. And on behalf of everyone here, I'd just like to thank you very, very much for providing an informative, helpful webinar that I'm sure is going to help any new incoming district executives. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Have a good night.